care,
All right, you're live.
Okay, all right, so we're live. All right, so again, we're down here in where we at here?
West Palm Beach,
Florida. Okay, so I had to think about where we're at because I wasn't in West Palm Beach the day before. Okay, I was actually out in Phoenix, Arizona, leaving there. So, but the cool part about this is that as usual, the beast was on the loose. I was traveling to a different destination to do yet another speaking engagement, seminar, or feast with the beast or something like that. So, but we had a couple of combinations there. We did have a little bit of a feast with two beasts in the process before coming back here. But the whole thing is, again, as some of the viewers come on there, Eric, if you want, you can have them ask questions. And if they send some questions, then we can answer some of those questions as well. But the big key now is the fact that G and I, we have seen each other in quite a few years. And we were getting reacquainted as we were having lunch. And I was like, we need to tell these same stories here again, because what I really want to tell a lot of these stories are for, because a lot of Americans, well, they're pansies. Yeah. And sometimes, you hear either Don Fry saying it or you have me saying it. It's like going, let's hear it from yet somebody else. But it's because of our American culture as to how I think Americans take for granted all the luxuries that we have. We walk into a room and you turn on the light switch and electricity comes on. You go to a faucet and water comes out of the faucet. You actually have a bathroom that is inside your facility. And when you go to some of these countries and you realize they don't have electricity, they don't have, or it's at limited time frames, or you walk into their home and there isn't a restroom in their home. It might be some community property down the hall that you're sharing with other people. So again, it's like, it's not just Dan Severn, it's got somebody else that actually has been on some of these trips. Not just some, but many of these kinds of trips. And again, we're just looking at the country of Japan alone and getting there. But let's start off with how we actually come to meet each other in the first place. Because I want you to tell the story, because I will interject how we met each other the first time.
So we meet up in Nashville, Tennessee. The company UWFI is having a training camp, and Dan and I are invited to this training camp. So I meet Dan, and he's got a sport coat, a suit, and a tie, a briefcase, his glasses. He's like, I thought he was one from the office or something. He was the business guy in the office. I'm like, who's this guy?
Gym bag and a briefcase, folks. And honestly, Gene, I still have that briefcase. So again, that's a relic. You heard another story here. That might be coming up for auction here. Stay tuned. Go ahead.
So anyway, UWF used to have training camps, and essentially they were break me camps. They were just testing you to see if you could handle it. Yeah, it's just they were there to break your will. So traditionally, they get 15 or 20 people in there. The first day, half of them be gone. They actually leave.
Well, some of the reasons why would they leave? Why would they leave after the first day?
Just because the training was so hard.
Well, you mean what was?
Hard to some people, hard to us, but it was hard.
What was training? What was some
500 squats, Hindu squats,
and that was just part of the
warm up. 3 different types of push-ups, 100 reps each push-up set. Mm-hmm. Sit-ups, 100. Everything was 100. Except for squats. That was 500. And one training camp, I did 1,000. And they got mad at me. They kicked me out of it was at the very end. After we trained for 2 hours, I had to do 1,000 squats.
Okay, that was 1,000 squats just for punishment, or was it for?
No, they were trying to show me off as being like this machine, and they didn't like the way I was doing it. I was like at 700, and they didn't like the way I was doing the squats. So they made me run to my apartment while they were in the car, and it was in summertime, and I ran 12 miles.
Okay,
No stopping for
when,
water.
When you think you're having a bad day, though, folks, you haven't had a bad day just because your Wi-Fi isn't working.
Brother.
Your AC might be a little off that day.
Yeah.
It was just, again, when you talk about living accommodations, okay, you're just a young trainee for this international fight style company.
Yeah. And they were mad. And so we would have to run. So we'd start off with a run. It was a 5K. We'd run this park. 3 laps around the park were 5K. Well, each lap was timed. So do you think the guy Gene made it under time ever?
What does that word guy Gene mean there, Gene?
Foreigner.
Yes. Anyone that was non-Japanese was guy Gene. And you were looked down upon.
I was this.
Yeah.
So I didn't ever make it. So they just ran me till I couldn't run anymore. And then I had to go down to the dojo. So I was the last one in. Then I was punished because I was the last one in, right? I was late. So now I'm having to do more stuff. And so 100 is 200.
Even though you're an American,
doesn't matter.
I mean, but you still fell on this totem pole, because I used to tell people, totem pole basically means pecking order.
Oh, absolutely.
Right there. So we understand. Gene is a little bit more of that older vintage. He understands what the totem pole means. In your family, there's a totem pole. Yeah. Are you the youngest? That means bottom of the totem pole, or you're one of the oldest, top of the totem pole. It just makes sense there. But a lot of people in America, I have to. Yeah. They don't understand common sense. I got to kind of rub their face into just a little bit of this common sense knowledge.
So the whole idea of what they were doing to me was they were trying to make me quit. The deal was, hey, he'll quit.
I want you to tell a story just so other people.
So I would go and train. So we would do all our what you call your calisthenics or your warm up stuff, which is the squats and the push-ups and everything, and then you take a break, and then you would go into your sparring. Mm-hmm. So you do live sparring, working your submissions. And so I'll give you an example. I fought a guy named, we used to call him Animal. He was crazy. He'd spent a year in Thailand, learn how to kick. He was
but Animal was vicious.
Oh, and he was properly named, right?
Yeah. I want again, taking a moment here just to kind of describe this is a shoot fight organization based out of Japan.
Yeah, Tokyo.
Now, again, I'm not really revealing nothing that hasn't been revealed before. Mm-hmm. This was a work organization, meaning these matches were pre-planned.
Yes.
But if you were to watch it, it was a very strong style of a match. You did not, the term is called sell. Because in professional scene, if Gene's slapping an arm block, something, I might make it look like he's just killing me and stuff like that. But the whole thing is, he knows what is the normal range of motion. He's going to put a little bit of pressure onto it, but he's not going to injure me in the process, because next month we might be working again. Right. He can't work if I got a torn up wing here on me. So we are both knowledgeable in the fact that this is going to be a work, but it's going to be a very, very stiff work. It's got to look so realistic. And again, you were told over and over and over again, you don't sell it unless you feel it. Yes.
Yeah.
You said that in unison right there.
Yeah. No. Because in the training, it's all 100%.
Oh.
So you're sparring at 100%. So you're training, and the reason you have to, because if you get in that position and you know it's supposed to hurt there, you better be showing it hurts there.
Yeah.
And so
I want to bring up two notable Japanese names that came from this. Gene.
Yeah.
Give one of them right now.
Well, one's in the Hall of Fame, Mr. Sakuraba.
Oh my! Oh, Sakuraba was involved in predetermined matches.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my! I mean, I think he was also known as the Gracie Hunter.
Yeah, Gracie Hunter.
Yeah, so he beat so many of the Gracies, but
he endured a lot of punishment.
To give you a little bit of the background, when Sakuraba, when I first was going over to Japan, again, Gene and I were first going over there.
Yeah.
Sakuraba was actually kind of a good-looking,
Yeah.
young,
Skinny.
Japanese green boy.
Green boy.
Because they just
Yeah.
new to the operation. Sakuraba is there. He's mopping mats.
Yep.
He's sweeping up the floor,
Doing laundry,
doing laundry,
cooking the food,
cooking the food. Okay,
cleaning the toilets.
all right. But here was the one thing that you just won't see in the United States. Now, the upper echelon, the big ticket sellers there of this dojo right now, when they take a shower, they come out, they're naked.
Yep.
And
wrap a towel around them.
yes, the green boys wrap a towel around them, and then they're like squeegees. They're
Yep.
like drying them all
Drying them
off.
off.
It's like going, okay, America. How many of you all will be squeegeeing off the upper echelon here right now? Again, you get out of whack when your Wi-Fi isn't working. Okay, so
Then like Takada-san. So you're talking about Takada-san. Takada-san sit down. He would sit there, and they would put all his food right in front of him. Get him his can of beer, put it in front of him. Everything would be placed perfectly for him, and then they would literally treat him like he was a deity. Yes.
yeah. Well, I mean, a daddy. I mean, basically, definitely. There was a two-tiered system because again, did Sakuraba and then the other green boys get to sit at that table?
No.
See, think about that, there, fellas. When your Wi-Fi goes out,
They didn't eat till I never actually saw them eat because they ate, but they were ate after everybody.
Yeah, again, in the process of them doing dishes, cleaning those toilets, because everything is squeegee clean when it's all done. I mean, when you walk in there, it's immaculate. When you leave, it's immaculate. But that was their standards. But I want to just going to Japan in the first place. Talk about like the hotel room that you had to associate in the beginning before we go to the actual training camp where you're even less. But when you first get over there, what was the accommodations of the hotel room?
It's like a walk-in closet, like literally your bed and your feet hit the wall at the end of the bed because that's the other wall on the other side of your room. And there's an embedded TV. Sometimes
built right into the wall.
Yeah,
there's
sometimes
a little TV that literally you'd have to split your feet just to be able to watch the screen.
And sometimes the bed would go up into the ceiling, and then the couch would pull out from the wall. And then, like you said, the bathroom. Oh, that was awesome. Oh, your knees touched the. And then the sink is like right here. You put your arm in the sink while you're sitting on the toilet.
And you can put your foot right into the bathtub.
And it's all connected.
And literally you can open up the door, lean out and look out, and still look out the door. But that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you wonder.
And that's where that was your closet too, because that's where you put your workout bag on the toilet seat, because where else
place at the store?
Yeah, nowhere to place.
Well, again, but in workouts, you wash it off. You wash out your gear in the bathtub / or the little sink right there, and then you hang it up there. You got your own little laundry mat.
Everybody hung clothes.
You had to.
That's the way it was.
It just, and all you use is basically a bar of soap.
Yep.
Scrub it down with the bar of soap.
And then they're folding everything. Listen, these people know how to fold. Well, like it was the best looking folded clothes I ever saw in my life.
I think a lot of that stems from is it called origami?
The
paper.
Yes.
And that they can fold into all these animals stuff like that. But again,
and then your wrestling shoes were right on top of your clothes, right there, and they were pointed towards away from the mat, towards the door. But everything was identical.
Yeah, but then again, just when you mention it again, just bring back. When you came to someone's home, did you walk into their home wearing your shoes?
Oh no.
Oh, again, because that's
very bad.
Yes. Again, you want to fall offense on them real quick? Walk into their home wearing your shoes.
I did that the first time I walked in the house. So I lived in a house with Sakuraba, Nakayama, the two green boys, the Thai kickboxer, Takayama, Kakahari, Kanehara animal. That's seven of us. So we all lived in a house together. So you can imagine what that was like. First of all, they didn't want me there.
Because you're gaijin.
Right. Yeah.
You're a foreigner.
They were mad. Why are you here? You should be here.
You're taking away one of their jobs.
Exactly.
but they also know that there's heat by having international matches. Again,
Exactly.
just adversarial. You know,
And-
but there will still, there just like Gene was saying, there is still that. There's a pecking order. There's a
Yeah.
pecking order amongst the Japanese, just the same way as they put a pecking order amongst the Americans.
Yeah.
Gene
like
and I didn't understand this kind of stuff. We're just there because we're just hoping to make it on one of these teams and roster because we're getting a paycheck. Is it every other month they were on the show, or is it
No, it was every month. They had a
every
show.
every month? So again, but not everyone would be with it every month. I mean,
Not-
if you're living in
Yeah.
it, you're
Yeah,
on
it was-
every month. But
yeah.
I think I was going in like maybe like every other month or something like
Yeah.
that is what I was going into there as.
So yeah, so it was the house was contentious, to say the least.
Well, I
lot of
you
testosterone.
being a guy, Jim. First
Yeah,
off, I mean,
first of all.
you're being looked down upon even worse yet.
And then they were training me how to fight. They didn't like that part.
But just the language barrier,
Oh,
because
yeah.
some of them have got some good English, but you're going there knowing no Japanese really.
No, and that's before smartphones. You didn't have. You had a translation dictionary. It was about that thick, and you'd have to go through the
That's
dictionary.
Part of that's called old school.
It was print.
It
wasn't this.
the digital age. This did not exist at that point.
No,
Oh.
and
Even on that same note, this will blow a lot of Americans away. Practically every corner there were vending machines,
Yes.
but there were vending machines like you would not find in America. For example,
yeah,
most vending machines, now again, even if you're old enough to think and remember what a vending machine is
Yeah.
supposed to do, usually you could buy cigarettes out of a
Yeah.
vending machine, you could buy
Candy bars.
soda pops,
Yeah.
candy bars. But in Japan, you could buy beer
beer, whiskey,
out of a
Kegs.
vending,
kegs. Yeah, so
okay, I never
Yeah,
saw that. Okay,
so
but beer I saw.
the
it.
Heineken mini kegs you could buy out of the vending machine. We rode one back to Narita one time. We got one and we put it in the van when we took from the hotel back to Narita one time, and drank all the way there. That was the day we were leaving after a fight.
That was a little bit differently about the, again, Japanese culture versus American culture is that a lot of Americans just try to abstain away from alcohol for a certain time period of leading up to competition. And again, how were the Japanese about that? About leading up to, or was it just afterwards that they would let you?
So up to competition, no alcohol, no nothing, no women, no nothing. Then the fight, then you blew it out for a week. Like every day they were drinking and they were out all night, and it was power drinking. It wasn't.
I was gonna say excessively. I'm
It
talking
was
about
spring break every night.
drink it to the point that you lost consciousness.
Yeah.
You destroyed brain cells.
You didn't remember that last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. That's the way it was. That's the way it worked. So they drank really heavily, and I couldn't do that. I was like, it was killing me. Plus, it's hard being in a foreign country. You don't speak the language, and you're 3/4 hammered, and then they just run off and leave you.
Oh, they would take you to places and then abandon you and to see, can he make it back to?
Can you make it back to the house?
Yeah.
I'm like, that ain't no fun because I can't read any of the signs.
Yeah, I was always big about every time I left. I always made sure and I always took a hotel card so that
That's right.
I knew,
I knew
if I ever got abandoned, I go pull it out. I can't read it.
Shin Yokohama, right? How do I get back to Shin Yokohama? Yeah. So I would wear.
And again, Americans. There was a lot of walking involved. A lot of walking involved. You didn't jump into taxi cabs and stuff like this.
No.
And when you know it was walking everywhere. And again, it's not that I'm trying to be belittling Americans. I just want you to understand how easy, or I should say, how nice we have it in this country. I say it all the time because I want you to. I always go back to hold your various state and national representatives, your senators, your congress people, your presidents. You got to hold them accountable for what comes out, what they spew out of their mouth.
Yeah, and
That's really what it boils down to. When
Yeah.
people, because there's a lot of politicians, they absolutely just flat ass out lie to you.
Yeah.
And then do they fulfill any of your things? No. So the sad part is now you're looking at, okay, now I have to vote for the lesser of the two evils. I don't like either one,
Right.
but which one you two are going to screw things up a little bit lesser, and that's really what I have to vote for. So again, that's where I always want people to know, because a lot of times people say, "Oh, Dan Severn, you're just all about being a Republican." Or something. I go, "No, I don't. I voted both democratically, and I voted for Republican." So to me, it's going, "No, again, not who's the best, who's going to screw up the world the least." I never said he's the best. No, okay, no, it's just
who's going to mess it up less.
Yes.
And that's the thing is in Japan is when they said something, they meant it.
It was gospel.
Right. So the problem I had coming back here, it was assimilating back, was the two-faced nature.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, now you deal with American
culture.
Culture.
Yeah.
Politicking,
yes,
that nature, because it's kind of going, well, okay, it went this way in Japan. In Japan, you learn a different type of culture.
Yeah,
and now you got to look at the other aspect.
You know how they dealt with it there. A little violence goes a long way there.
Physical punishment.
Punishment.
You'll learn. But again, he pulled out those two names. And again, that's why I go right back to the fact they brought out Sakuraba and Takayama.
Yeah.
Again, Sakuraba, he became a legend. And again, Sakuraba is still alive.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he's still alive. I just know that he had hit a couple kind of low points in his life again. But again, that's where, I mean, everyone's had some low points. I'm not here to dwell on that, but it from the hard partying aspect right there.
Yeah. And the elevated status.
Yes.
That's hard to live. I mean, where he was, like Takada got out kind of like before it got too crazy. Sakuraba, it was nuts over there for him.
Yeah, no, again, he
revered, right?
That was kind of like, again, even like the rise, because he was there. He never competed for like the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but he was in this different organization. But the Gracies were already being so revered, and the fact that this guy had beaten, I don't know, was it 2, 3? Different of the Gracies right there, and he just kind of going up the pecking order to where who's next on the list, who else have I got to beat in just one family. But no, he did really very well for himself in his elevation. I don't know where he's at in today's life, but again, the whole aspect here is that reconnecting with Gene after not seeing him for so many years. But then again, just as we see each other, we're like almost like two little school kids here once again. But we're regaling stories. But these are stories that to educate Americans on what you take for granted.
Well, plus it's the sport that is called UFC now. This is where it came from.
How it was derived, yes.
It was derived through our pay-per-views and our TV shows from Japan. Yeah. Most people don't, like maybe 1% of the people in the world know that. Like we were the only two
This internet era did not exist. I mean, folks, we're working off of a laptop here right now. The laptops were not as mobile. I mean, computers were big, huge, clumpy type of things. You couldn't carry them around in a little briefcase type of situation. Didn't have your cell phone to where now it's like you could do literally almost everything on this, but it's kind of like going, maybe others can. I can't still because I haven't learned enough classes. I have to keep being educated.
I'll tell you who really broke it was the Duva brothers and TVKO, because that's who was doing the pay-per-views, and they were doing all those big fight pay-per-views.
And these are names that none of these folks would even know.
Yeah, no, it's so, like Don King had an opportunity. I remember being in Nashville, and Don King had an opportunity to get involved with this, and he was like, so there's a guy named Kerry Farr in Nashville, Tennessee, and I remember Don King coming into his boxing gym because we had a training center there, and he goes, "Don, you need to come over and watch these guys train." He goes, "You need to get involved in this."
Just the training alone to
to watch us, and Don was like, "What in the?" He goes, "Kerry, my man, what in the hell is that?" He goes,
"It's okay to curse on the program."
Yeah, he goes,
every now and then.
"What in the hell is that, man? Kerry, my brother." He goes, "You need to get into this thing, man." And this is way before Dana. This is before even I think maybe even UFC started or it just got started, and Don had an opportunity. I think UFC had started
like 1994.
Yeah,
so
he
did not have
turned it down. He goes, man, I know boxing. That's my game. And I'm like, man,
he missed out on an opportunity there because boxing was just one element of what this whole aspect was about. Because like I said, just people today, when you watch Ultimate Fighting Championship, I mean, it is a well-oiled machine today. Yes. It's a mega $billion industry that now the UFC is actually trying to build different type of training institutions on various continents, because they said, we know that, okay, we've got people in Japan now, so we need a place here. We're trying to get people in Africa. We're trying to get people out of, again, they're going to have one of their PIs at each continent easily, just because the people are there. I know, like, again, one of the stories that we're regaling over lunch there was that when I was first with the UFC, I had met with a couple of their recruiters, and they're like, and then the recruiters for the talents were like, well, Dan, how do you think we're doing? I go, dude, you have Americans athletes, you got some Canadian athletes, you got a few Brazilians, and you got some Japanese athletes. I go, you've barely scratched the surface. I go, when you start going to Russia, you get some real Russians come over. You get some real Mongolians, some real Bulgarians, some Chinese. You've just barely scratched the surface. Yeah. I go. Even fast forward to today, UFC's a well-oiled machine. There is still that young man on this remote mountaintop or something like that now, because that's what I told him a number of times. He's this kid up there, and he's got his flock of sheep or whatever around him, and he's got nothing to protect him with but a club. And there's 3 or 4 wolves that are surrounding his sheep, and that young man knows he's got to not only protect these sheep, he's got to kill these 2 or 3 wolves with nothing but a club and his physical ability. Otherwise, his old man's going to kick his ass.
Exactly.
Again, then that's his only alternatives.
Yeah.
I either better die in the process or be looking for a new home here now, because
I'm not going to eat.
Yeah, I can't let down, because my family needs the milk, the meat. I mean, because that's what they're living on. I tell folks, look at a lot of the foreigners that have come into the Ultimate Fighting Championship and how quickly they rose to the top. They've all risen to the top.
Like, that is less stress, like by half than what they live through in normal life.
Exactly. And yet they keep sending their money back home, because they can buy a lot more land. They can buy a lot more cattle. They can, again, they're unlike a lot of American athletes that a lot of the American athletes, again, I'm talking about football players, basketball players, baseball players, hockey, you name the sport. A lot of these guys, they came from humble beginnings, and now they're buying a big mansion. They want to have 4 or 5 really elite cars, stuff like that. That's not what these foreign athletes are doing. They're going back and they're buying and they're investing into herds of dairy cows. They're buying up more farmland and actually bringing in some more productivity.
Any American, like from today, let's use today. So Americans, because we're in the States, anybody would train the way we're describing. Like, if you threw them back there 30 years ago and said, here you go, and you walked out the door and you have no communication device at all, you're cut off from civilization, you can't speak English. The only time you can speak English is when the Americans come over on a monthly basis and you wear their ears out because you've been like a mute, deaf person for a whole month.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. For what you said, a fraction of 1%.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't even say 1% Americans.
Hardcore.
Because, again, I always feel like I'm beating up on Americans. It's not that I'm beating up. I just want to rub their face into reality. Yeah. And that you can be successful. You have to set goals, but there's an aspect of hard work and perseverance.
Got to pay the bill, man.
When you're doing 100 Hindu squats, you always have to start at one, and then But because knowing that 100 sounds like an astronomical figure, but when you start getting there and you're like, oh, I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
Maybe I can. It's like there's a lot to that psychological aspect where you'll eventually get there towards like going, knock out 100, I can do that, and I can eat a candy bar at the same time here. I'm such a machine firing on this because you develop your body, your muscles, stuff like that are firing just nicely. So,
hey, I was just curious, Gene. What year did you first go over to Japan, and do you remember what you went over there for originally?
So I met Dan at the training camp in Nashville. We trained in this abandoned sawmill in Franklin, Kentucky. So we drove like 45 minutes. So we're driving on this way,
and there was one American that was there. It was a Tom Burton.
Yes,
that was a vow that he. It was kind of funny because he had one guy, Sinji, but then you had Tom Burton that was always acting like the translator.
Yes,
but it was that going.
It was weird.
It was so strange because I don't think Tom knew as much Japanese as he thought he did. It was just a kind of an unusual situation on so many different fronts. But again, I want you to go back to understand it was kind of comical because of way how most of these athletes show up in their stands: Severn, sports jacket, tie, duffel bag, briefcase.
And I was like, does this guy work for the company?
Did you have your fanny pack at that time, Dan?
No.
Pre-fanny pack.
Pre-fanny pack. Huh? See, you know around what year you're talking about here?
92, 93, 92. It was 92.
It was 92.
Yeah, it was 92. Because I went over. So what happened?
Well, again, I always tell people I started my professional wrestling career in 1992. I was involved at first, and because the UFC did not even exist.
No. And so what happened was we went to this training camp, and they weeded everybody out but me and Dan. And so they said, we're going to take one guy. And so me and Dan are standing, and he looks at Dan and goes, Dan, would you stay one more week? And Dan looks at me and goes, I'm going to stay. And then he goes, Gene, will you stay one more week? I said, well, Dan's staying, I'm staying. So we train another week with these guys. They try to break us, and we don't break.
Yeah. What's that movie out called? Unbreakable.
Exactly. So we go over to Japan to fight in Nagoya, Japan. That was our first fight.
Again, but G was saying before, incredible house.
Oh,
each one sell out shows, and they were making good money.
Yeah.
But then we would afterwards we would be different sponsors of the program, which basically meant we were dining with the mafia.
Yeah.
Was this the UWF?
Yes.
UWFI.
Yeah, UWFI. Yeah. So
United Wrestling Federation International.
No, it was actually it was the United Professional Wrestling Force.
UWF.
Yeah, that's what they called it.
Okay, yeah.
But on the American side, they called it UWF. UWF International.
Okay.
That's what it was. Yes, but their actual real name, I saw it on paper. It was the Union of Professional Wrestling Force. That's what it was called.
Oh, I learned something new.
So, but what's funny about that whole deal was, like, I didn't know how to submission wrestle at all. Like, I'm getting ragdolled.
But you had an amateur wrestling background.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any other skill sets that you brought into it originally? Was it okay? But you had played football.
Yeah, I played football.
So again, you're all used to be slam banged around quite a bit.
Tough guy.
Yeah.
So I could take the beating. And so we did. And then they said,
most of the people there, because I talk about amateurs all the time, that they're still the toughest people.
Oh.
But these are character traits that will last with you forever. Each time that you go to eat, it's kind of going, you remember all those days where you did not eat, or the fact that you're sucking on an ice cube, knowing that you drink a water.
A lettuce leaf.
So outside of amateur wrestling, you didn't really have any martial arts background, Gene?
Oh, none, zero.
That's crazy, man.
But you say that though, Eric, but at the same token, amateur wrestling is veered upon as a martial
I know. I got you.
Today.
It
would have never been looked upon as a martial art before, but as when you look at how many of the current UFC champions, where did their roots come from originally? Well, their roots came from they were an amateur wrestler. They were an amateur wrestler that had to acquire submission skills. But there were some of these pinning combinations that were like, that were very painful to begin with. So it was like they were submission holds, and that's why like
arm bars. Arm bars. It's you working an arm back. It doesn't take much. Well, you would elevate it, so you take your hand up above the shoulder and you bring it up a little bit, and but so power you already knew them.
Power halves, I mean, there's again, you're imposing your will upon another individual to put their back onto the mat,
and they're resisting it.
Yes. So again, you were just, as I always tell people, we were in the business of breaking people.
Yeah.
Because you had to break people psychologically, physically, and psychologically. It was a combination. You can't just pin that person. You have to kind of break them in different phases, and then eventually to get them to go to
the most important part. No rounds, time limits,
endless.
You'd start off with 15 points. If you were in a bad position, you grab the rope, you lose a point.
Yeah.
All right.
Because the matches took place inside of what looked like a boxing ring.
Yeah. Big boxing ring, like 24
I think
feet.
it was it might have been like a 24 by 24 type of situation.
It was.
And they had, even in most boxing, they have like one or two of the what they call stays that help to keep the ropes from splitting. But I think they actually put like an extra one or two of them on each side.
There was four on each set of ropes, so the ropes weren't part at all.
Yeah, because if Gene was pushing me back and the ropes, my butt hit in the ropes, I could split right through it and end up falling out onto the concrete, and they didn't want to do that. But no, on the same funny note, all the Japanese media would be right there, and they're right on the edge of those rings, and they're popping off flash after flash. And we got to realize, folks, these are flash bulbs.
Yeah. And
so you might be facing this guy, and all of a sudden, three flashes go. It's like going. Also, it's like you lost eyesight for a moment there. So you almost like think, well, doggone it, the media is working with my opponent here right now. He's coming at me, and I got three flashes in my eyes. So again, but it's kind of like, Eric, I feel like I sometimes keep belittling or beating up on Americans, but again, they don't understand how soft they've gotten or how much easier they've gotten in life in a lot of ways.
Well, it's true.
I know you have a question.
Well, I was going to ask, how did the two of you meet? I don't think you've talked about that yet.
Well, no, we met at the training camp.
At
Judge's training. Again, I went. First off, I went to this thing called. I went to a tryout.
Yeah.
And at the actual tryout in itself, I had already worked for two different universities. So standard attire to me was sports jacket, tie, wore my glasses because I could see up close, but for distance, I need glasses. I had on my glasses, and I had a briefcase, a tan briefcase, and my duffel bag. And inside my tan briefcase, I'd always have stuff like the portable planner, things of that nature. And I brought different things to work on because I was trying to make things work for myself. Because as I stated earlier, I went to Coldwater, Michigan for one aspect, but at the end of the first week there, I did not have a job. I had to make something happen as quickly as I possibly can. Again, I'm trying to exterior-wise, I'm trying not to let anybody else know about this. I'm trying to look cool, calm, collective, like I've got my shit together. I wasn't. I was like, gotta make this work. I gotta be able to go there because this was a good payday. Back then, that was a great payday.
It was a huge payday.
And it was an all cash operation.
All cash operation.
So it's like going.
Got paid $100 bills at the end of the fight.
Oh,
all in order.
And think about that. $100 bill coming back to the United States at that point. I was like going, wow. People like going, they didn't see it, but they were so fresh, so crisp.
They were brand new.
Again, you thought they had a printing press.
I think they had a book and they cut them right back in the back.
Yeah, no, it was like strange times. And again, there were times when a great show took place. You had a good performance. They would take you out, and then they would wine and dine you.
And you were royalty there. Oh my God, you were like the sumo guys used to come watch us fight.
Yeah, which was huge. Even when you went back to your hotel rooms, there
Yeah.
would be different fans that
Yeah.
would be at your hotel room, and they just wanted
Give you
your phone.
gifts, food.
Yeah.
I mean, candies.
No, it was a kind of like a special.
We were NFL
Yeah.
guys there, man.
No, it was a strange
Yeah.
time. It's like going. Each time it's like, oh wow, this kind of really weird that this is happening because it's not happening like that in the States. You
No,
go back
no
to the
one-
States, it's kind of going,
no one-
yeah, all right.
No one, yeah,
They're not. First off, they're not believing you because you can't show them nothing because
Right.
it's all happening over into another
yeah,
country.
Sure you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we had time limits, so you went until you either lost all your points or you submitted. Is it? You didn't have gloves. There was no gloves. See, what I don't like about the
Shin
gloves,
pads,
shin pads,
shin pads.
but those things were like not even a quarter, and they were just designed to take care of your shin.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that obviously the deal too was the gloves. That's another thing I hate that they instituted was the 2 ounce or 3 ounce glove because you can't grab anybody because your fingers can't squeeze.
Right.
You can't hold on to anything. So all the rules they've instituted
went against the grappler.
went against the grappler.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe they should have two different divisions, a grappling division with striking and a striking division.
Yeah, I would have been almost like it's like the bare knuckle action that
Right.
we do today, but incorporate the grappling aspect
Yeah.
of bare knuckles.
Yes, because
Yeah.
that's what it
Wow.
was. I fought a bunch of those fights in Atlanta, by the way. Bare knuckles.
You weren't on the payroll, is that
No, I don't think those were sanctioned either.
Did you ever work like as a bouncer or something like that? Different. Oh, okay. Good. I did not know.
I got challenged plenty of times though.
Being at the pub.
Yeah.
No, but okay. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the worst times ever at a bar is what I call closing time.
Oh yeah, near midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're getting at the closing time, it's
Yeah.
with that bewitching hour to
Yeah.
where the lights are finally coming on,
Yeah.
and now people are looking scared, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going home alone.
Exactly.
And there is I used to refer to it as a F and F
Yeah,
syndrome.
I was just gonna say that. Fight
again,
or F.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
We'll let you guys fill in the blanks here.
Exactly.
How it is. But there are
Yeah.
two things. If you didn't find a woman that you're going to be taking home that night,
Then you're
well, might as well
pick on somebody.
get into a
Yeah,
fight.
That's right.
So that's what's known as the F and F syndrome. And that, again, I don't know if that happens today. Maybe it's kind of like, gee, doggone it, you're not going to come over and we're not going to be playing, Challenger on our video games.
Well, it's funny is like when you're out with friends that aren't like part of our thing, right? And they're drinking and drunk and they're talking trash. You know why? Because one of us is with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That happened. Now, most of the times I ever got in anything close to like something happening was because of that stuff. Like my buddies would be going, "Hey, this guy over here."
Okay, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, I didn't get they involved in this thing.
Yeah. We actually spoke about this, and we haven't talked about it yet. But we talked about over lunch. We talked about like drinking.
Yeah.
Is that going in? Because Gene, you'd asked me the question before. Did I have ever got to a point where I got drunk or something like that? And I go that I don't like the taste of beer at all.
Right.
Hey, Dan.